स्टार्ट हो गया. ठीक है सर. A very good evening to our participants in Pakistan, and a very good morning to our friends from US. I am Jamil Qureshi from the Board of Investment. Before we start, just a few requests for our participants. All listener participants are requested to please press the mute key. Kindly put your questions and queries in the chat box. I'd like to request Madam Farina Mazhar, our Federal Secretary, Board of Investment, for welcome remarks. Madam, please.
We're unable to hear her.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So assalamu alaikum and a very good morning, everyone in Pakistan, and especially the ones who've joined us from the US. It's a great honor for me to be addressing you all. And I think it's going to be one of the opportunities for people between Pakistan and those friends in the US to use this forum to have a discussion on various issues and also know the investment regime of the country. And this will provide great understanding between the two of us. So as you know, that Pakistan is a land of 220 million people, and around 59% of our population falls in the age bracket of 15 to 59 years. And 27% of this is between the age of 15 and 29 years. So our potential investors are offered a robust consumer market and also a very young population. So this population can speak English, is easily trainable, and can be a very productive labor force. Pakistan has a middle class, which is about 36% of its population. And the location of the country is also very strategic. It's at the crossroads of the South, West, and Central Asia, providing access to the Central Asian republics and close proximity to the Gulf states. And we neighbor Iran and China. So we have, this is like a natural regional hub for investment and trade, from where you can do business and reach out to other countries. Since the inception of the present government, the dynamic leadership of the Prime Minister, we are working on a very strong reform agenda, both on the economic front and also on the regulatory front. So a recent survey conducted by the Overseas Investors Chambers of Commerce and Industry indicates that there has been a 75% increase in the business confidence index over the last 4 months as compared to the same period last year. So the recent surveys also indicate that the investment in the country is also on the rise. We've experienced a 5% increase in the domestic investment, and the exports have also gone up about 27%. And exports, have gone up by 32% now in the recent times. The company registration has gone up by 40%. The zone enterprises in the special economic zones have experienced an increase of 30%, and 50% of the investment is in fixed assets, which indicates that industrialization is picking up, and this will be instrumental towards the social and economic development of the people of Pakistan. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say that Pakistan offers a very safe environment to investors in all sectors of economy. We have ample opportunities for the foreign investors, and they can invest in the country having 100% ownership in their investments. Pakistan's investment policy, I would say, is one of the most liberal ones in the entire country. You do not need to have a local partner. Also, you are allowed to take back all your dividends or capital or profits without any cap. So this is one of the incentives which is rarely given by any country, but we offer this incentive. Also, all sectors are open for investment except for a few, like explosive, arms and ammunitions, and currency printing. So the investments of foreigners are protected under the acts of law. Pakistan has a very liberal regime for the special economic zones also. We have 22 special economic zones which have been notified so far. There are two incentives, with the main incentives in the special economic zones. One is the exemption of taxes and duties for the income of both the developer and also the zone enterprise for 10 years. And the second is duty-free import of plant and machinery for the first time. So apart from that, the utilities are provided by the federal government, and it is a very easy plug and play situation where you can come and start your business. Pakistan and USA, they are partners for the last many years. The United States has been one of the top 5 investors in Pakistan for the last 20 years. And there are many companies, the US companies that are working in Pakistan, like Procter & Gamble, Exxon Mobil, General Electric, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, KFC, and PepsiCo. So the economic ties between Pakistan and US have helped Pakistan in its economy and in the prosperity of its people. The TIFA, which is the Trade and Investment Agreement between the USA and Pakistan, has provided a forum where both countries discuss mutual avenues for cooperation, for investment, for trade. And I've been a part of many of these TIFA meetings, and many of the issues between Pakistan and USA are discussed at this forum. And this is a very, I would say, an opportunity for these issues to be resolved. Also, many times these TIFA meetings are also accompanied by the business-to-business forums. I guess they've been discontinued for the last couple of years owing to the COVID pandemic, but a physical interaction and the physical movement between these two countries also always provides a very good opportunity for the joint ventures. Pakistan has around 1,000 international companies. I would say that whoever comes to Pakistan doesn't leave. According to estimates, the rate on returns are more than 20%. And the other day we were having a conversation with top CEOs, and they said that Pakistan is a preferred destination because they're making double-digit profits. And so this is rarely done in any of the countries. In the last seminar where in Dubai, where we were having an investment forum, we had many of the investors, Accor, hotel chain owners, and they were declaring that out of the over 700 hotel chains, the ones that they have in Karachi, Movenpick was making the maximum profit. So it's a great opportunity for investors to come to Pakistan, to explore different avenues and do business here. I would also like to say that we have developed a projects portal where we have put in more than 150 projects, all in different sectors. They are available on our website, and they are like more than $60 billion. So you can explore by sector-wise and also amount-wise if you are interested. One of the keen interests of the present government is the regulatory reform work. Pakistan improved 39 positions in the ease of doing business ranking in the last 2 years before the report got discontinued. And we just started off making progress on different regulatory work. And now the program has been expanded, and it's being spread to the entire country. And we hope that many of the unnecessary regulations will be eliminated. Many of them will be simplified, and many of the regulations and procedures will become online, thus making it very easy for the businesses to do work here. So again, I would like to take this opportunity to invite all of you to Pakistan to see all the business opportunities that are here. I assure you the maximum cooperation coming from the Board of Investment here in Pakistan and also from our missions abroad. And for the US, I think the major sectors for investment would be the information technology, automobile, construction, housing, food and agriculture, health, e-commerce, energy, and tourism. So these are the sectors in which we are offering special incentives. We have an electronic vehicle policy in place now. We have mobile manufacturing policy, especially incentivizing these sectors, tourism also. So please do come to Pakistan, make investments there, and also do let us know if you have any further questions or you need explanations in respect of any of the policies of the government. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, madam. Much appreciated. Now I'm pleased to request Dr. Asad Majid Khan, our ambassador for Pakistan in USA, for his kind remarks, please.
Thank you, Quraish Saab, and a very good evening to those joining from Pakistan, and a good morning to everyone tuning in from here in the United States. Thank you, Secretary Farina Mazhar, for your very comprehensive opening statement. And I'd like to congratulate the Board of Investment and also its chairman, Muhammad Asfar Ahsan, for taking this initiative on basically introducing investment opportunities in Pakistan. I can say that over the years that I have served here in the United States in various capacities, we have come across three kinds of impediments or constraints, if you will, on promoting and expanding investments in Pakistan. First has been, frankly, the question of lack of awareness. A lack of awareness on both sides. In Pakistan, on how the system works here in the United States, how and what are the new opportunities arising in the private sector, which institutions, agencies might be able to facilitate investments in Pakistan, and also what are the private sector companies that may have some interest in Pakistan. But more importantly, there is a complete lack of awareness here in the United States on the kind of opportunities there are in Pakistan, on the kind of incentives that the government of Pakistan is offering. There has also been, unfortunately, this freeze in terms of the image and perceptions on Pakistan, where clearly the security situation on the ground has improved remarkably, but still the perceptions here of Pakistan and how travel advisories stand in the way of allowing people to actually go and see for themselves what is available in Pakistan. So I believe that in terms of promoting awareness, both in Pakistan as well as here in the United States, on where we stand, what is the situation like on the ground, and what are the incentives. I think this particular initiative would go a long way in filling that gap. The second challenge that I have perceived or seen over the years is basically the lack of involvement of the private sector. Because yes, we as representing governments, we as the so-called facilitators of creating the right kind of environment, the enabling environment for investment. But the actual players are the private sector people. And in that regard, again, I would say that because, for instance, from Pakistan, visa-related constraints, difficulties in obtaining visas, for entrepreneurs and executives here in United States, the travel advisory on our side, lack of availability of direct air connections, and also our inability, frankly, to cast the net wide in terms of reaching out to those who may not actually be invested in Pakistan, but may have interest in investing in Pakistan. And I must say that COVID actually has allowed us, has enabled us to reach out to as many as we can and to at least start and initiate a conversation. So in that regard also, I think I really would like to congratulate Board of Investment as we here in the embassy and through our 4 consulates across the United States keep creating or striving to create those networking opportunities, because they are absolutely critical. There is hunger for exploring opportunities here, but sometimes people don't find the right kind of partners or partners that they can trust. So for us to create those platforms, and this I see as one of such platforms where we can bring the private sectors of both United States and Pakistan together. And last but not least is actually the perceived gap between the incentives promised and the incentives delivered on the ground. I do keep talking to those interested in investing in Pakistan. We also institutionally interact with those that are already invested in Pakistan. And since this is a platform where we want to engage in a candid, honest conversation, I can say this frankly, that there is clearly a sense and perception here that while we may have very attractive packages on paper, the actual implementation often is not as smooth and as seamless as it should be. And that's where I think we need to foster this conversation in the spirit of better understanding where the problems are. And I can tell you that we are already seeing this approach work by way of creating a smaller group for conversations on technology-related investment constraints, steered by none other than the president himself. And that small forum is now almost acting as a clearinghouse mechanism where individuals who face problems, who face challenges, they bring them up, and then the system comes together to resolve those issues and challenges. And I think nothing would go as far as our ability to essentially, reduce the gap between the incentives promised and incentives delivered. I can tell you that at the political, you touched upon the importance of this relationship. And I think while we talk a lot about the security centricity of this relationship, but despite all that focus being on the security side, United States is still the largest export destination for Pakistan. United States is still the 3rd or the 4th largest remittance center for Pakistan. United States is still the destination, the largest destination for our tech-related exports. United States is the #1 non-so-called debt-related inflows into Pakistan. So that really highlights and brings out the importance and significance of United States and how and why we need to focus on this. And I can tell you, as Pakistan's ambassador here for the past 3 years, I see a complete political buy-in both in Pakistan, here in United States also. People and leadership sees the potential of expansion, except that we need to work out the nitty-gritty. Clearly, we see that over the past 1 year, since particularly over the last 6 months, we are seeing intensification of engagements, starting with foreign ministers meeting with Secretary Blinken in New York, then Deputy Secretary Sherman's visit to Islamabad. We have had very senior congressional delegations also, and in each one of those visits, the importance of building a stronger economic, trade, and business relationship was underscored. And I think I can also point out that structurally also, the IDFC, which is the International Development Finance Corporation, which is the successor to OPIC, provides that framework where they have doubled the equity for DFC, and that allows actually United States to expand its corporate footprint overseas. So these are the opportunities that I think we need to sensitize and apprise and educate our investors about and our businessmen. I look forward to working closely with you and all those who are here joining this conversation. I also look forward to a productive exchange, and I do hope that we are able to sensitize everyone attending on what the real incentives are on the ground, and that we continue this as a not one time but as a regular exercise. So thank you very much for your leadership, and I thank all the participants for joining. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. Now I would like to invite our chairman, Mr. Mohammad Asfar Assam, to kindly address the distinguished business community of Pakistan and USA. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Jamil Qureshi, Federal Secretary, Board of Investment, Ms. Farina Mazhar, our ambassador in USA, and my very dear friend, Mr. Dr. Asad Majid Khan, fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, and very good evening from Pakistan and very good morning in US. On behalf of Board of Investment, Government of Pakistan, I'm very grateful to all of you for your virtual presence in today's Pakistan-US webinar on investment opportunities in Pakistan. I must compliment and I must congratulate the teams of Board of Investment, especially the Investment Promotion Division, their officials, for initiating this series of webinars, seminars, and conferences. So today's webinar is also part of our series of webinars and events creating awareness for investment opportunities in Pakistan. Last week, Board of Investment hosted an investment seminar in Dubai during the Dubai Expo, and every month we are hosting the investment seminar in different areas. And last two webinars were attended by overseas Pakistanis as well as foreign investors from various countries. And the feedback from various foreign investors and overseas Pakistanis is commendable. Our teams interacted with them, and now we are following them for the investment opportunities, and we are facilitating them to promote their businesses and also promote our industries. And we are trying to do the matchmaking of foreign investors and the local investors in Pakistan. We are also hosting overseas Pakistanis investment show on 15th of January under the patronage of Prime Minister Imran Khan at the Prime Minister House, where we are showcasing few CDA related projects, and we are hosting around 400 to 500 overseas Pakistanis in this program. Board of Investment also initiated the Global Investment Summit on March 30 and 31st. And this is again under the patronage of Prime Minister Imran Khan, where we are hosting over 300 foreign delegates, also the Pakistani diaspora from various industries, from various countries, as well as the top business and corporate leaders in Pakistan. And all of you who are attending this webinar from US are welcome to attend, and soon we will share the details of this Global Investment Summit in Pakistan. And I want to share that this is an annual summit, and from now, inshallah, Pakistan will host this Global Investment Summit every year in Pakistan. Ladies and gentlemen, Bestowed with immense resources, Pakistan is a land of opportunity for investors and business concerns, both investment and trade. Despite various challenges, especially in the situation arising out of COVID-19, Government of Pakistan is making all-out efforts to put the economy on the track of long-term and sustainable economic progress. The improvement in various economic indicators is a proof of these efforts. Here, I would like to mention that Pakistan offers lucrative investment opportunities to investors in various sectors of the economy. In our special economic zones, we have offered special incentives to the investors in enhancing productivity and reducing cost of doing business with overall objective to accomplish economic and industrial development goals. It is a great opportunity for the prospective investors to invest in the 22 notified SEZs independently or through joint ventures with their Pakistani counterparts and reap benefits from the available incentives, thus realizing true potential arising out of CPAC. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to highlight the role of Board of Investment Government of Pakistan, mandated to promote, encourage, and facilitate both local and foreign investment. Our teams are ready here, available here to facilitate you 24/7. Board of Investment acts as interface between international and local investors, public and private sector. BOI works for enabling business environment through policy and strategic interventions. An incentive database has been developed where investors can see the complete set of incentives being offered to any specific sector. Investors are urged to visit the BOI website, which is very effective and user-friendly, interactive, and holds comprehensive and updated information for prospective investors. In an effort to make the regulatory environment business-friendly and amenable to investors, the Board of Investment is leading the Pakistan Regulatory Modernization Initiative, PRMI, launched by the Honorable Prime Minister of Pakistan. Once rolled out, it shall transform the regulatory landscape across all tiers of government. A comprehensive reform initiative, it will simplify and automate the regulatory requirements. A PMRI digital portal has already been created, which contains real-time inventory of above 1,400 registrations, licenses, certificates, and other permits. With such regulatory reforms in place, Government of Pakistan envisages a paradigm shift in the regulatory environment of the country in the coming years. I'm glad to note that in today's event, business leaders representing an array of potential sectors are participating. I'm really grateful to all of you again. I would encourage you all to find new approaches to enhance Pakistan-USA trade and investment landscape and make best use of this platform. I strongly believe that this webinar will be instrumental in exploring new horizons for moving forward, enhanced trade and investment linkages. Ladies and gentlemen, let me assure you all that Government of Pakistan will extend full support and facilitation for your businesses in Pakistan. Thank you for attending this webinar. I wish all of you the best of luck in future endeavors and looking forward to host majority of you during the Global Investment Summit on March 30 and 31 at Serena Hotel, Islamabad. Pakistan Zindabad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Much appreciated. Now we'll be moving towards the presentation part of our seminar. Mr. Irfan Marwat from the Board of Investment will provide an overview of investment regime of Pakistan. Irfan sir.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to the participants sitting here and online from elsewhere in Pakistan, and good morning to our honorable participants from the US. I'll be building a bit more on what the Madam Secretary and the Honorable Chairman said about the investment opportunities in Pakistan. Ladies and gentlemen, Board of Investment is lead agency for industrial cooperation under the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. We are regulatory modernization initiative is also in the ambit of BOI, And then thirdly, Board of Investment, in addition to investment promotion facilitation, also deals the special economic zones. There are 5 major reasons for the foreign investors to invest in Pakistan. Madam Secretary has already built a lot on this, but I'll touch upon some of them. Pakistan has a strategic location with close proximity to the energy-rich countries of the Central Asia. We are also close to the financially liquid countries of the Gulf. Then the workforce of Pakistan is very young comparatively. And then we provide a very large consumer market in the world. The investment policy of the government of Pakistan is very liberal. The economic outlook of the country is on the improvement side. The government of Pakistan also provides special economic zones to the foreign investors where a liberal set of incentives are being offered to investors. A bit about the investment regime. The investment policy of the government of Pakistan provides that all sectors of our economy are open to foreign investors, except very few of them. There is uniform treatment to both the foreign and local investors. 100% equity is allowed to all the foreign investors. Then 100% repatriation of profits, dividends, and fees is permitted by the policy. Borrowing facilities, both from local and foreign banks, is available to investors. These are the 7 priority sectors of the government of Pakistan. According to research, Pakistan has comparative advantages in the food processing, logistics, textile, automobile, tourism, housing and construction, and information technology sectors. Board of Investment is also pursuing a robust agenda of reducing and simplification of procedures, which is called the Pakistan Regulatory Modernization Initiative. Under this process, we are in the process of establishing a one-stop shop facility, which is called Pakistan Business Portal, and it is also available online on our website. Board of Investment has also compiled an incentive database, which is comprised of various incentives which are being offered by the federal and provincial government in various sectors of Pakistan's economy. We have also developed a project database for investors' interest, which is available online, and it is comprised of over 60 billion projects available in the public-private partnership mode. Some of the investment opportunities in Pakistan. According to the 4th Industrial Revolution, it says it is going to be $11.5 trillion globally. There is going to be 100% plus growth in the value of the IT sector to a whooping $3.5 billion. The opportunities in incentives available in the IT sector of Pakistan as it is one of the most financially attractive outsourcing destination. We are the 3rd fastest growing freelance market in the world. In terms of incentives, up to 100% tax credit on IT exports income is available till June 2025. 100% income tax credit for the Pakistan Software Export Board registered startups. There is only 1% tax on the proceeds of IT exports. 100% repatriation of profits to foreign IT and ITEs investors is available. And it is a proud moment to say that there is approximately 2.1 billion US dollars IT related exports in the financial year 2021. In terms of tourism sectors, Government of Pakistan is providing e-visa facility for 191 nations. Business visa is given on arrival. Tourist visa is also given on arrival. Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, has some of the world's coolest resorts and hub to the world's tastiest foods. CPAC includes rail links passing through the renowned mountain peaks and glaciers. There are more than 100 peaks above 700 meters altitudes in the north of Pakistan. There is 50% concession on custom duties for importing items for adventure tourism. Services provided by the hotels are exempt from the income tax deduction. Then there is reduced duty on prefabricated structures, machinery and equipment for hotels. 8 integrated tourism zones in the province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in Punjab are being developed by the government of Pakistan. A bit about the agriculture and food processing sectors. Pakistan is 6th largest mangoes producer. We are the 3rd largest milk producer globally, 16th largest citrus producer, 11th largest poultry producer, 10th largest rice producer, 8th largest wheat producer, and 9th in total cattle production in the world. In terms of incentives, there is reduced rate of custom duties on import of capital goods. There is concessional rate of custom duties on import of ingredients for value-added chicken products. Low custom duty on import of plant and machinery for vegetables, fruits and seafoods, etc. Specific items related to food are exempt for withholding tax in Pakistan. Exemption on income tax is given for the food processing and beverage sector in the country. About the special economic zones. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of Pakistan has created the special economic zones under the Special Economic Zones Parliament Act of 2012 with the objective of creation of industrial clusters and infrastructure to meet the competitiveness of the country. The special economic zones provides a liberal set of incentives to both the zone developers and the zone enterprises. Special economic zones, according to law, can be developed by the private sector, the public sector, and the public-private partnership modes as well. So briefly about the incentives which are being offered in the special economic zones. There is a custom duty exemption on import of capital goods into the special economic zones, both for the zone enterprises and the zone developers. There is income tax exemption for 10 years for the zone enterprises and those zone developers. Infrastructure facilities like the utilities are provided to the zone enterprises at the designated 0 point of the concerned special economic zone. Government of Pakistan has established 22 special economic zones in various parts of the country, including the Islamabad Capital Territory. Board of Investment has also compiled and developed a projects and incentives database. The database of projects is comprised of over 120 projects worth $60 billion. These projects are available in the public-private partnership mode and primarily exist in communication and IT, construction, tourism, water treatment, energy, agriculture and fish farming, railways, manufacturing, etc. Our project database can be accessed from our website. The incentive database has been compiled and developed by the Board of Investments, which is comprised of the various set of incentives being offered by the provincial and federal governments in various sectors of economy. The incentive database that is on BOI's websites provides simple description, its explanation, and the laws and the rules which are backing these incentives. Thank you very much. We can be reached at our contacts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Irfan Saab. So all these presentations will be uploaded on the chat box for the participants so that they can download them as per their choice. So moving on, we have with us today Mr. Syed Hamid Ali, Additional Secretary from the Ministry of Commerce, to highlight trade relations between Pakistan and US and speak on e-commerce policy of Pakistan. Hamid sir, thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Chairman BOI, Muhammad Asfar Hassan, Secretary BOI, Ms. Farina Mazhar, our Ambassador in USA, Dr. Asad Majid Khan, businessmen in the US and colleagues here, Assalamu alaikum. I'm grateful to BOI for affording me this opportunity to share some ideas about the economy and the trading potential of Pakistan for our businessmen in USA. And I would be very glad to address any queries that they might have at the end of my presentation. Next, please. So this gives you a snapshot of our economy, as already highlighted by some of the colleagues from BOI. We have a large agrarian economy, and that posits a great potential for food processing industry, as already highlighted by BOI. And we have a large population which is shifting in the digital sphere. So we have large telecom density, fastly expanding because of the population growth, and also because of the large density of young population that we have. So that is IT savvy. So we have a gradual shift towards IT enabled skill set in this sector. Next, please. Sorry. To give you some more macro economic factors, we have around 300 billion worth US dollars economy. Last year, our imports were worth around 56 billion. Our exports for the first time touched the highest figure in our history, 25.3 billion. We have expanding services export sector also, and remittances are also at a record high last year, and it is also increasing this year. Next. According to some estimates, we are going to be a large economy reaching 20th position in 2030, according to PricewaterhouseCoopers, and maybe 16th largest by 2050 in terms of purchasing power parity. And then also in terms of complexity, our economy is gearing towards different sectors, newly developed sectors. So that is also a good indicator that our economy is shifting towards more sectors, and we expect both trade and investment potential in those sectors, some of which have already been highlighted by BOI. To give you a trend about our exports, as I already highlighted, we have reached the highest export figure last year, and this trend is continuing this year also. We are witnessing a double-digit export increase in the first 5 months of this year. Some of our major export sectors are highlighted here, mostly textiles, folled by food and other manufacturers and petroleum and food. As already highlighted, USA is one of our largest trading destination. In fact, it is the largest single country destination, although EU is the largest one, but that is a trading bloc. And it's also second largest partner by volume of bilateral trade. This gives you a snapshot about our import-export composition, relative portion of our export and also a relative portion of our imports. We mostly export items which are, in the textile sector, although they are not eligible for GSP in USA, but somehow our exporters are more competitive right now and they can export textile items. And we import some agriculture products like soya bean, machinery, and other electrical items from USA. Our bilateral trade has been expanding in the last few years, and last year it touched a peak of more than 7.5 billion. Our exports were more than 5 billion, and our imports were around 2.7 billion. Similarly, we are witnessing a rising trend in our export in services to USA also. We last year had 2.25 billion worth of export in services, of which exports in ICT were the single largest item. They registered a volume of around 1.34 billion. I would now dilate on some of the policy initiatives taken by Ministry of Commerce to foster competitiveness in the economic structure of the country. Some of the initiatives relate to market access. We have been pursuing various initiatives to have free trade and preferential trade agreements with various countries. Some of these are mentioned here. We have one with Indonesia, we have with Sri Lanka, we have Malaysia, with China, and we are also pursuing other such initiatives with other countries. In 2019, the government took a strategic decision to use tariff more for trade liberalization rather than for revenue generation. So as part of that, the Tariff Policy Board was housed in Ministry of Commerce, and Ministry of Commerce now, in collaboration with various ministries, analyze proposals for industrial promotion, industrial relocation, and trade competitiveness. So we have been working alongside with the private sector to enhance competitiveness and to enable duty-free access to various raw materials for our export sector. And I would dilate on some of these things in the next slide. 93% of our tariff lines now are within the 0 to 20% slab. And of this, 42% imports wise are exempt from custom duties. And these are mostly those tariff lines which are primarily for the export related industries. Similarly, last year we did a very large undertaking of the various tariff lines which can promote various industries. So 2,000 out of the entire 7,368 tariff lines were rationalized in one single year. This created a 21 billion benefit, which was directly passed on to the industry so that they can enhance their product range. Our tariff has come now within the single digit. Average tariff rate has come down to 9%, and 7.5% is on non-agri products. So industry, we want to promote more industrial products, especially in engineering, in IT, and in other sectors. For textile especially, we removed 164 tariff lines on man-made fiber so that we want to increase the value-added portion of our textile exports. Similarly, on various tariff lines for our textile sector, raw materials and chemicals were also, tariff lines on those were also reduced. And also on those which were directly related to exports of pharmaceutical sector. Regarding e-commerce, we had a new policy, and this policy includes both exports of goods and services. Various targets have been allocated to subgroups which are working on promotion of this policy. This policy envisages liberalization and facilitation, financial inclusion and payment mechanisms, empowering youth and SMEs, reduced incidence of taxes, and consumer protection. We have had a good undertaking in Amazon, which enabled us to add Pakistan to its list of authorized sellers in May 2021. And this is going to have a significant impact on the export of our products from SME sector in USA. Similarly, in domestic market, e-commerce is booming. We have more than 100% growth in various products in the domestic market. And similarly, also we are witnessing growth in the IT sector, 44% growth last year, and with 23% overall and 44% in the IT sector. As part of the whole government approach, the Ministry of Commerce undertook a strategic exercise of promoting overall trade policy framework, and in consultation with various ministries and the chambers and associations and the exporters, this policy was undertaken, and now it has been approved. It allows us to build on the competitiveness of the various sectors, especially those which have already indicated: textiles, leather, food processing, tourism. I will give you a list later on. This is a policy which also envisages domestic support for all those sectors which are in the export regime. And also there is a faster processing of refunds and duty drawbacks for those exporters who are eligible for that. This also has ramifications for other supporting policies in the various ministries. So they all build up and build towards the overall objective of this policy, which is increase of exports, product diversification, market diversification, and value addition in the various industries. So these are some of the lists. On the left side are the traditional sectors, and on the right side are those ones in which we want to develop our competitiveness and export performance. In a nutshell, this is the overall policy for enabling the business environment. Some of these have already been dilated upon by the BOI. For instance, the image building, promotion, payment facilitation, payment ease of doing business, utilities and connectivity, special economic zones, availability of raw materials at affordable rates, training and support mechanism by various provincial government so that we have the capacity to supply skilled labor, and the export-oriented various initiatives. Another significant change that was brought in the last budget was how to attract the international buying houses. International experience tells us that it is much more fruitful if we are able to attract buying houses to locate offices in the export country. We have seen this on a very successful way in Bangladesh and in India and in Vietnam. So we, as part of a deliberate attempt to woo them to come to Pakistan, gave them duty tax remission on their expenses as well as on their personnel who are posted here. Similarly, in tourism sector, a large duty remission exercise was undertaken. 50% duty was remitted on a lot of lines, tariff lines, which will support the government initiative to promote the tourism sector. A large number of multinationals are housed here, and this is one of the representative list of those multinationals. An important thing that I want to highlight here is the recent trade war between USA and China. And this table just highlights one of the important aspects of potential trade and investment opportunity for our businessmen in USA. I just want to highlight the first column, which gives you an indication of what are the USA global imports in these various sectors. So this is a very large number. China contributed a large part of it. But now with the new tariff around average of 20% on Chinese products and less than 10%, on average 8, but less than 10% from Pakistan, we are now positioned to give you a lot of space for providing these products. If our importers in USA, companies are interested in these sectors, we can do a lot of business to business matchmaking here. And I look forward to queries from our friends in USA who would be willing or interested in finding out potential partners in these sectors. And also I want to remind you that these are mostly those sectors in which we want to develop and promote our exports in terms of our strategic trade policy and in terms of various initiatives that have also been outlined by my friends from BOI. So with this, I end my presentation and I would be available for any queries later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hamid Saab. Much appreciated. There was a question from Mr. Adnan Asad, and the slide number 22 of Hamid Saab's presentation partly answers that question. And as I mentioned earlier, we are uploading all these presentations on the chat box. Please feel free to download them, and we will go into detail of these questions later. I will now invite Mr. Hashim Raza, CEO from Small Medium Enterprise Development Authority, to present the investment opportunities for the SME sector. Sir, please.
Thank you. Madam Secretary Farina Mazhar, Secretary Board of Investment, His Excellency our Ambassador in the US, Asad Majid Khan Saab, my fellow colleagues from the public sector and our private sector colleagues in Pakistan and in the US. I think we're running a little late, so I will try to be brief. I'm here today to present a very basic, very brief landscape of the SME sector in Pakistan and the exciting reforms that have been approved by the federal cabinet just a couple of days back. So it is really fresh from the oven in terms of promoting the small and medium enterprises in Pakistan. So I'll be sharing the major policy incentives that we have provided to the SME sector. And the idea being to be able to encourage some of the Pakistani business houses as well as the business community in the US to be able to benefit from this regime. So this is the overall landscape of the SME sector in Pakistan. We have 5.2 million estimated number of enterprises. They are roughly distributed amongst the various provinces according to the population distribution. So Punjab has 64%, Sindh has 18%, KP 14%, Islamabad Capital Territory 0.63%, and Balochistan 2.2%. The overall the importance for the SME sector for the economy being that it contributes 40% to the GDP, 25% to exports, the 20% of the manufacturing businesses in Pakistan belong to the SME sector, 53% of the SME is wholesale and retail. And comparatively, there is a relatively lesser access to finance. Only 3% get access to finance and only 6.5% is our SME share in the overall private sector credit. In terms of the overall economic landscape, I'm sure some of it has been touched upon already. We have had, our trade figures of 18 and 39 billion imports for year 2021. The sectoral contribution in terms of our GDP, service sector being the largest at 61%. This is again for 2021. A large labor force out of the population of 215, according to the 2017 and 18 surveys, 65.5 million is our total. And the foreign direct investments for the last reported year is 3.1 billion, with the per capita income standing at $1,500, roughly $1,500 US.
Now, in terms of the key economic sectors where SMEs exist in Pakistan, these are some of the major ones. So logistics, ICT and allied industries, gems and jewelry, horticulture, construction, fisheries, energy, dairy, livestock, tourism, leather, minerals, light engineering, and textile, made-ups and apparels. In terms of their location of these sectors, logistics is primarily located around the metropolitan cities of Lahore, Karachi, Sialkot, Faisalabad, Peshawar, and Gwadar. And marine fisheries is in Karachi and Gwadar mainly. The construction sector primarily, of course, it takes place all over Pakistan, but the major investments and economic activity in construction takes place in the major cities of Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad. The dairy and livestock is one centered around our major consumption cities, as well as in the major rural areas where livestock exists. The leather sector is primarily Lahore, Karachi, Sialkot, Qasur, and Peshawar. In fact, Charsadda near Peshawar. The gems and jewelry is Karachi, Lahore, Gilgit, Sawat, and Peshawar. Energy sector is primarily Karachi, Lahore, and horticulture. We have, the kinnu or the tangerine and oranges sector in Sargodha, the apple in Quetta, the mango in Karachi and Lahore are processed, as well as in Multan. Then grapes in the Balochistan area of Chaman, and dates in Khairpur and Diai Khan. In terms of mineral potential of and where the SMEs operate, we have the coal sector in Balochistan and Sindh and Fata, the marble and granite in Sindh, KP and Fata, primarily in KP. The chromite sector in Balochistan, the gypsum in KP. Tourism, of course, is all over Pakistan, mainly in the northern areas. So Sawat, Mari, Gilgit, Baltistan, where we have the 5 of the 14 8,000 meter plus peaks of the world located, as well as in Chitral. The ICT allied industries are primarily in Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, and light engineering, which is both are light engineering, household appliances, as well as auto parts, is in Karachi, Lahore. Fans are in Gujarat, surgical in Sialkot, and cutlery in Wazirabad. So this gives you roughly a very broad overview of the SME sector, the economic activities they undertake, and the geographies where they belong to. Now I come to the second part of my presentation, which is sharing with you the very substantial incentives being offered to the SME sector by the SME policy, which was approved as recently as the day before yesterday by the federal cabinet. And we hope that as a result, the investment in the SMEs, both by Pakistanis and counterparts, will increase. So the national SME policy, which I'm referring to, is has a political ownership at the highest level. Prime Minister himself has had about 8 meetings chaired on the subject. There is a robust implementation mechanism. So for a change, it is not only a policy document, but you'll be surprised to know that out of the major policy regime, at least 3 of them have been implemented already, even prior to the approval of the policy by the cabinet. Similarly, there is a special focus on reducing government intervention and increasing access to capital and resources. And then the overall idea is that if you look at the Pakistan GDP growth, since the creation of the country, it's established fact that we go through a boom bust cycle. So every time we have a higher growth rate, because of higher consumptions, our imports go up and current account deficit becomes unsustainable. And if you map it against the political and economic sort of macroeconomic situation of the times when we have actually achieved higher growth, you could see that primarily we have been in either regional or international defense sort of cooperation agreements at those times. So whether it was the Afghan war or the first Afghan war or the second Afghan war, or during CETO and CENTO were the times when there were large remittances and based upon which we had a large consumption-based growth. Now, if you combine these factors, which means that wherever there is growth, the consumption goes up, the import bill goes up, and whenever the growth takes place, it is primarily driven by foreign assistance. That typically points to an economy which has substantial production or supply side issue, which means that we have not unfortunately been able to diversify our production base to be able to increase our exports and also to be able to come up with products and services that are consumed locally. Now, SME policy is a framework, hopefully, which will try and address those issues in order to be able to diversify our production bases across various sectors to be able to achieve. And this we are trying to achieve through a number of policy incentives, which I will just share with you. One of the good things that has happened as part of the policy is that now we have a SME registration portal, which will be one shop access. So it is voluntary. You can register free of cost. And as a result of the registration, the SMEs will have access to these incentives, which I will go in detail as well. So there is substantial lowering of tax rates and exemption from audits. There are concessional loans on collateral-free loans on very easy terms. There are common facility centers, possibilities in terms of regulatory environment, which I must congratulate and appreciate the role played by Board of Investment in working with us on this through this Pakistan Regulatory Modernization Initiative and Ease of Doing Business. Also, to be able to reform the regulatory environment, and it is a substantial change. Similarly, we are, the organization that I represent, is been substantially strengthened, and there is a dedicated physical infrastructure. And all of this would be available. All of these incentives will be available through a single registration portal, which is available on our website. Now, just to go into a little bit of detail, for example, in terms of regulatory reforms, which has been led by BOI, and we are working closely with them to implement this. For all BMR expansion and new startups for low risk categories, the requirement of NOCs and government approvals has been done away with. It's only for the medium and high risk category that it will be required. It is currently being implemented in Punjab, but gradually it will be implemented in other. Similarly, there is an inspection. A lot of SMEs have complained about government intervention through the inspectors of labor or environment or social security, and that has been done away with. There will be an inspection portal, and all inspection visits will be authorized, and only those that are authorized on that portal, which SMEs will also have access to, will be deemed to have been an official visit. All the rest of the visits, which are usually for extorting money or putting pressure on the SMEs, are done away with. Similarly, there is a time-bound approval regime on the lines of the construction approval regime. So if any SMEs apply for a license, in case they are medium or high risk, the government is bound to either issue a license within a certain stipulated period, which is 10 to 30 days, depending on the risk. Or if they don't, and they do not raise an objection to an application, it would deem to have been approved. It would deem to have been awarded. So the government will have to make a decision so that the discretionary powers of the government regulating agencies, both at the federal and provincial levels, they should be, it's sort of curtailed in a way that either they will, similarly, there are 74 regulatory reforms which BOI is leading, have been implemented already. And in the next phase, all of this will be expanded to the other provinces and regions. So Punjab is at the moment taking the lead because most of this regulatory framework is in the provincial domain, but it has been actively pursued by KP and will be implemented in Sindh and Balochistan as well. In terms of the tax regime, currently it is only available for the manufacturing sector SMEs. So there is a tax reduction of as high as 67 to 83% for manufacturing sector SMEs for categories of annual turnover of 100 million and from 100 to 250 million. So, and they have an option of either, opting for a presumptive tax regime in which their turnover tax will be 0.25% and 0.5%. So 0.25 up to 100 million annual turnover category and 0.5 from 100 to 250 million, or they can also opt for an income tax regime in which their tax rate has been reduced from 35% up to maximum of 35% currently to a maximum of 7.5 and 15%. Similarly, the no audits, for presumptive regime, for the normal tax regime, minimum audits and harassment has been taken out. There is a simple online one-page form that has been developed for filing tax returns. And in the second phase, the green ones are the second phase categories. the FBR has kindly agreed to include IT and ITS sector in this incentive regime, as well as with the gradual reduction of the withholding tax as we increase our formalization of the economy and direct taxation increases. And number third pillar, so we've covered the regulatory part, we've covered the taxation part. The third pillar is access to finance. On these, the first two and this one has already been launched. So, although the policy is approved only the day before yesterday, but these three initiatives have already been launched on the ground and available for SMEs. So for access to finance, State Bank has already launched SME Asan financing schemes of a total allocation of 60 billion. It will benefit about 30,000 SMEs, collateral-free loans available of up to a maximum of 10 million rupees per enterprise, and the end borrower interest rate will be 9%, 8 to 9%. And the banks, participating banks, are offered credit guarantees of 40 to 60%, so that they are able to take risk and interest in the government has allocated a total of 25 billion as a subsidy for this particular credit scheme. In the second phase, we are also, so this is the credit market, but we're also looking at the equity markets and plan to work with SCCP and FBR to be able to reform the regulatory and the tax structure for the venture capital market to grow. Under the chairmanship of Advisor of Finance, there is a committee being formed which will look at the various aspects of the SME credit market and see how it can be further expanded. I mean, we were looking at, my colleague from the Ministry of Commerce and Board of Investment were looking at the sort of bigger opportunities in the Pakistani economy. And let me just share with you, one of the opportunities we could look at is the SME financing market. For example, currently we stand at about 6.5, the SME financing currently stand at 6.5% of the total private sector credit and only 172,000 borrowers, as opposed to 5.2 million potential borrowers, and as opposed to a percentage of private sector credit of up to 30%. In Pakistan, I mean, the countries that we compete with, for example, India, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Philippines, Thailand, South Asia and Southeast Asian countries, more or less are in the range of 25% to 35% of the total private sector credit going to SME sector. Now, even if we were to only triple and achieve the levels that Pakistan has actually achieved previously, I think it was in somewhere in 2005-06 that our SME credit was 18% of the total private sector credit. We are looking at an expansion of credit of over 1 trillion. Currently, our SME credit is about 452 billion. So if we're looking at tripling its size, we're looking at a 1 trillion SME credit market. And government is coming up with regulations to allow our investors to set up specialized financing institutions, including digital banks, including regional banks, including fintechs, to be able to benefit from this, as well as improve SMEs access to finance. In terms of infrastructure, we've already, my colleagues have touched upon the special economic zones and others. For SMEs also, because they require a relatively smaller plot size and relatively easier installment terms, the provincial governments have allocated about 4,200 acres, comprising of about 19,500 plots for the SME sector. These plots are available, and these are currently by the by various provincial as well as by the federal department. And these plots are generally available on very easy installments for 15 to 20% down payment, and the rest of the payments payable over 3 to 5 year time period. And we've lobbied with the provincial government to ensure that the development cost of that land is actually not charged at SMEs, but to the larger enterprise house within the same industrial category. Similarly, there are plug and play infrastructure, which we are currently also looking at. There are also support, you must have probably read it in the newspapers in terms of the announcement for promoting women entrepreneurship. There is a 25% tax reduction on women-owned enterprises. And similarly, there is a banking on equality policy of the State Bank, which aims at providing greater access to women and enterprises to formal finance, that has been pursued. In terms of market access, some of it we are implementing in collaboration with TDAP and Ministry of Commerce. There are two aspects of it. In terms of local market, we are lobbying with the provincial revenue, the procurement regulatory authorities for a greater strategies to greater participation of SMEs in the federal and provincial contracts. Similarly, with international markets, TDAP has generously agreed to increase their the SME participation in the international trade markets. In terms of media strengthening, and a lot of new, just even today we had a meeting with the Minister of Finance, and he's generously agreed to set up a fund of 30 billion, as well as restructuring of media to make it a more private sector-like and autonomous and efficient organization. These are we are also looking at the SME bank and how it can be structured, which has been under policy. So these are, as a not all, but some of the salient features of the SME policy that I've shared. And the idea was that with these incentives, it makes a very attractive proposition for Pakistani as well as overseas investors. And we hope that some of you would actually consider investment in the SME sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. As I mentioned earlier, this excellent presentation will also be available on the chat box for you guys to download it. I will now request Mr. Shah Jahan Mirza, CEO and Managing Director of Portal Energy Board, for his presentation, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Worthy Pakistan Ambassador in the USA, BOA officials, and distinguished participants from Pakistan and from USA. Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. I just very briefly introduction. I represent the Alternate Energy Development Board, which is a one-window facilitator on behalf of the government of Pakistan for the investors who want to set up RE generation projects in the country. So with this, I move forward. The scheme of my presentation is I will first cover the overall broader perspective in terms of the government goals and the policies, and then I'll move to the current scenario and what we are looking at in terms of investment in the RE sector of Pakistan. Very briefly, the first time I would say in Pakistan that the government of Pakistan has announced a national policy which covers the broader goals and vision of the policy. Previously, there were many policies, but they were sort of in the segments like the separate renewable energy policy, separate thermal policy, separate hydro policy. Now, looking at the history of Pakistan, that in the last 30, 40 years, we have been moving in cycles. And first we get into the shortages, and then we start getting whatever we can get at top priority and at fast speed. So the government has taken the step in the right direction to set the goal for the next 10 to 15 years, that what we want to do in the electricity and power sector, and what are the broader goals. So if you look at these goals and vision, basically it revolves around 3 or 4 things. First is the more and more reliance on the indigenous resources. Second is the affordable and environmental friendly electricity generation. Third is the access to affordable electricity. We still have access to over 70% population in Pakistan, and our per capita consumption is one of the lowest in the region. So we need to work around in increasing the generation in the country. Energy security, of course, is a very important segment of the policy due to the changing international environment. So mainly these are the four pillars of this policy. So now I move to the policy, which is the alternate renewable energy policy of 2019, which was actually finalized and announced last year in 2020. Again, if you look at the objective is the first and foremost objective is the protect environment by increasing share of green energy. That is the first objective. Since we are facing a difficulty that we have one of the highest tariff for the electricity in the region, which is actually hindering the growth of the industry and the commercial activities in the country. So the second objective is to add least cost generation into the grid and the fast track implementation of the projects. And another very fundamental pillar is that the maximum investment should come from the private sector so that the public sector fund could be used towards the social development. The local manufacturing of the equipment and the local human resource skills development obviously are the other objectives which are ancillary to the main objectives. Salient feature of the policies. Currently, we have only 5% generation from the renewable energy, and the challenging target is to take it to 20% by 2025 and 30% by 2030. The government has also set up a direction by approving a generation expansion plan till 2030, which gives actually the target for various technologies and various fuels for addition of the generation capacity. The hallmark of the policy is the competitive bidding. Unfortunately, so far we have done a lot of projects in the private sector, but they are all on the cost plus basis or non-competition basis. So we are moving towards the competitive bidding regime so that we can get the best prices and the optimal solution. Displacement of expensive fossil fuels is another objective of the RE policy. And similarly, this time the policy also covers the non-utility based procurements, which are off-grid procurements, B2B, mini grids, micro grids, and the captive power generation plants. So this time we have tried to take a holistic view of the RE sector. This is the technologies. These are all the technologies of the renewable energy are covered here: solar, wind, biomass, ocean, tidal, geothermal. So all these technologies are covered under the policy, and they are eligible for the investment. Fiscal and financial incentives more or less are the same which were in the previous policy. So exemption from the corporate income tax is there for the whole life of these power plants. Import duties is also exempt for the RE equipment. As mentioned earlier, repatriation of dividend and disinvestment and 100% foreign equity is permitted. This has been stated already. Foreign currency accounts are permitted with the even in Pakistan, and the offshore foreign currency accounts wherever are required for purchase of this equipment. There are standard security package documents which covers the provision like protection against change in law, protection from the government expropriation, international dispute resolution mechanism are there, standard force majeure clauses are there. And the documents under the policy which are now using, they are time tested, because Pakistan first started inviting the investment in the power sector in mid-90s. And in these 25 years, we have been successful to bring around 20,000 megawatts from the private sector. So the government emphasis throughout has remained on bringing more and more investment from the private sector. And this is evident from the fact that the currently Pakistan power generation sector has 50% private investment and 50% in the public sector. To facilitate the investors and create enabling environment, we have carried out various studies to determine the potential of RE generation in the country. Wind generation potential is 346,000 megawatt in the country, and solar potential is 2.9 million megawatt. This is of course theoretical potentials, and Pakistan is fortunately blessed with both the resources abundantly. The solar resources are also abundant, and wind resources also very good in Pakistan, which is better than most of the countries. Various studies and wind mapping and solar mapping has been done with the support of the World Bank and SMAP and USAID and other US government support also. If we look at the current status, we have 40 ARE projects in operation with the total capacity of 224 megawatt. As I said earlier, it's only 5% of 5% of the total generation in the grid. But if we add hydro with it, which is about 27%, so we have 30, 32, 33% clean and green energy in the grid already. And the policy and the targets are to take it to 30% through the wind, solar, and biomass extra, and another 30% through the hydro. So Pakistan is targeting to have this clean and green energy by 2030 over 60% in the grid, which is a challenging target. But we are basically working to achieve it, and this will be a great achievement in terms of a developing country. We have 10 wind and solar power projects in construction with the total capacity of around 7,050 megawatt. So this will also add to the renewable energy generation in the Pakistan. Another initiative which was launched in 2015, but actually it was really started about 2-3 years back. That is the rooftop solar, where you can actually generate your own electricity and you can sell the surplus electricity to the grid. The response is excellent, and so far 286 megawatt has been added in the last 2 to 3 years. And AEDB, realizing the difficulties of the customers, that they don't get the quality equipment, they don't get after sales services, so they don't get the warranties which are international standard. So in 2018, AEDB started the certification of the vendors and the installers, and currently 126 service providers have been certified by the AEDB, and we actually look after that they are doing the quality work, and if there are complaints, any complaints, they are rectified in a timely manner. Another area which is very critical, because we have done a lot as country, we have done a lot of work on the generation side, but the transmission side is a weaker area. Realizing that government announced a transmission line policy for attracting investment from the private sector. This has a very good and attractive incentive. Mainly, if we look at this slide, the award is through competitive bidding mainly, and the high voltage transmission lines are allowed. The difficult part in the country is actually to get the right of way and lease of the land. So for initially, the government has put this burden on the National Transmission and Dispatch Company, so that private investors are not bogged down in this project. In this process, project terms is 25-year on build, own, operate, and transfer basis. Fixed transmission service charge is allowed, since the transmission on these lines is the discretion of the network operator. So they get fixed capacity charge for their services if the line is available. Income tax exemption is available for the first 10 years. And similarly, sales tax and withholding tax exemption is also available. Duty, 5% concessionary duty is applied on the equipment which is not manufactured locally. Government of Pakistan provide guarantee for securing payment obligation of NTDCL. So currently, Pakistan power sector has problem of payables. So government has provided this guarantee that in case the power purchaser is unable to pay, the government backs up the power purchaser obligation. As I said earlier, the protection as against the political force majeure events and the changes in law and other force majeure is available, which is a standard security package, which is available at the AEDB website also, so that investors would look at beforehand and decide their investment projections. Tariff indexation is allowed, since we are still working with the 20-25-year long-term contracts. So the tariff indexation is allowed for inflation in the US CPI and Pakistan WPI. Foreign costs are indexed and matched to the US dollar and Pakistan rupee parity. So this provides actually quite a good protection to the investors, because they are stuck up in the long-term contracts. If we look at that now, this is the current scenario. What we have projected for the last next 10 years. We will have around 40,000 megawatt of the generation capacity by end of next year. Currently, it is 35,000. So about 5,000 will be added, and these are the projects which are in pipeline or under construction. So we're looking another, while as I showed on the first slide, the policy also emphasized on displacement of the fossil fuels. In the next 10 years, we will retire 5,000 megawatt of generation capacity based on the fossil fuel. So we'll be adding around 26,000 megawatt in the next 10 years. And out of that, 10,000 megawatt will be the RE, which is the wind and solar power projects, and 13,000 will be hydropower generation. So there is a very little contribution of the fossil fuel and thermal projects in the next 10 years. The capex which has been forecasted in the generation expansion plan, both capex and opex, it's $39.2 billion US, so which is huge amount. And obviously we need the international collaboration and international investors to participate in this process to bring in this huge investment. Next slide, please. Sorry. That's this. This is just the breakup of what I said, that we'll be adding more than 10,000 megawatts through wind and solar generation. So this is the yearly breakup. The first target is to bring in 2,000 megawatt by year 2024. And we are working on that. We'll be inviting bid next year for these 2,000 megawatts through the international tendering process. Opportunities for investment, that there are many opportunities in this area. Participation in the competitive bidding, as I said, we will be doing this competitive bidding process to mid of the next year. So that is an open opportunity for all the investors. ARE projects based on new technologies. Policy allows that the new technologies, they can actually come in on sort of unsolicited or single source basis. So they can come even without competitive bidding, like the new technology like CSP, hybrid, tidal wave generation. So these are the type of projects which can come in even without the competitive process, and they can submit proposal to AEDB and will process it on the merit basis. Development of pump storage is another area on which Pakistan so far has not done any projects. So that will actually work as a backup or storage to cater for the intermittency of the large quantum of variable energy in the renewable energy in the grid. Local manufacturing of RE equipment is also a good opportunity when we are looking at a target of 10,000 megawatt for the next 10 years. And as we have seen in the other presentation, because of the incentives in the export processing zone and other areas, there are opportunities of manufacturing in Pakistan and exporting it to the other countries. So there are opportunities for some of the industries relocation also in terms of RE equipment manufacturing. Development of distributed generation based on ARE projects on B2B basis. So these are two areas. One is where, as I said earlier, we have around 25% plus population where we don't have access to the electricity into the national grid. So mini grid and micro grid are the basically the ideal solution for these areas. So we offer this opportunity to the private investors. They can come and set up the mini and micro grids for supply to those areas where the national grid is not there or national grid is not very feasible. Similarly, as I said earlier, the transmission side is a weaker area in this whole power sector system. So if we look at $32 billion investment in the generation side, we need a sizable investment actually to take this power to the final consumers, and at least 50% of this will be required to expand the transmission system to take this power to the consumer. So that offers a good opportunity for the investors to come into and set up the transmission line. Then private sector participation in the EHV transmission line, as I said earlier, and the policy has very attractive incentive, and our security package, which we offer to the investors, is time tested, and the financing has been provided on these documents by all around the world, all the international banks, multilateral agencies. So with this, we invite the investors to look into these incentives, and AEDB is available to provide the one window service. Our website, which somehow has been missed here, we will put into the presentation when we put it on the website. The website, this is www.aedb.org. So we'll put this presentation on that website also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Very informative presentation. Again, the presentation is available on the chat box for anybody to download. Now I'll request Dr. Asghar Naeem, Chief Planner from Federal Government Employees Housing Authority, to pitch opportunities for investors, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear colleagues, professionals, good evening. Today I'm gonna present a snapshot of investment opportunities in housing sector in Pakistan. I'm a chief planner as assistant in Federal Government Employees Housing Authority, but I'm giving overall review, overall scenario of housing opportunities in Pakistan. So what is the driving force for housing? And what is the demand for housing? And then what are the opportunities? What are the different windows, dimensions of investment in housing? So Pakistan is the 5th largest country in terms of population. We have 207.8 million population as per the latest census 2017. And if we see intercensal population, it comes out to be 4 million annual increase between this intercensal population. Moreover, our country is experiencing rapid pace of urbanization. And at the moment, I mean, there is 36.3% of our population living in urban areas. And we are among one of the highly urbanized nations in South Asia. So there are conservative estimates that perhaps by 2025, about 50% of our population will be living in urban centers. So when there is a highest increase of urbanization, then there is a tremendous pressure on housing as well. So if the market, if the government departments are unable to meet that demand, then we see there are symptoms of slums and the Kachi Abadis there. So in Pakistan, 2/3 of the population, that comes out to be 66%, cannot get access to formal housing. And the Pakistan's annual demand of housing is estimated to be about 700,000 units. And only about half of this demand was currently being met. So it means about 350,000 urban units are required every year to meet the demand. It is said that land is not produced in factories. It is such a rare commodity. That's why we see there is too much demand for land in urban areas. There is too much pressure. We see depletion of our agriculture land. There is stress on it. There is stress on our forests. So housing sector is one of the focus area of the current ruling regime. And I think it is good policy because shelter is one of the basic human needs. And to meet this human need, we have to make it as one of our focus areas. So to attract the investors, there are a number of incentives that have been given. So those are tremendous tax-based rebates under tax laws, amendments, ordinance 2020. Construction sector has been declared as an industrial undertaking that makes it eligible for benefits and concessions. So numerous taxes that were previously hampering the ease of doing business in the sector have been removed. And there is exemption of withholding tax on building materials. So another step for ease of doing business and attracting the investment in housing is one-stop shop, so that the investors can invest without any difficulties in getting permits, in getting their firms registered, in getting the NOCs from the government departments. So there are different dimensions of investment in housing. So one is the flagship program of Prime Minister, that is Naya Pakistan Housing Scheme. And it is based on two models. One model is where the land is purchased from the government at the DC rate that is announced by the concerned deputy commissioner of the district. So on that land, so investment is made, the investors are invited, and there is about 70% housing for the low and middle income group. And this is the good thing that we see in this model. And the another model is just based on market based model that runs through market mechanism. And that is basically to cater for not the low cost housing, but the affordable housing that for lower and middle income groups. So in order to provide shelter to shelter less government employees, particularly the federal, this authority came into existence. Previously, it was a foundation, and in line with the desire of the current regime, so they have gone towards vertical development instead of horizontal development that was depleting our scarce agricultural land. So we have launched a number of projects in Islamabad. Those are the apartment projects. There are 4 apartment projects. There is one project in Lahore. Even we have gone to Quetta, we have gone to Karachi, and we have gone to Kashmir. And some projects are in process in other parts of the country. So our model is to provide shelter to the employees. Now we have extended the scope of our membership. Now we offer membership to provincial government employees, to autonomous bodies, and to different specified groups as well. So we work on no profit, no loss base, and it is the commercial area is sold and it is subsidized. The employees are subsidized, federal government employees. And yes, there is another window of opportunity. Have a look at this one. So this is Islamabad, and this is the slum area. But if we invite the investors, so why can't we make it into this way? And these 4-story, up to 4-story, ground plus 3, where there's commercial and offices, and if we sell out those, we can provide apartments to all these Kachi Abadi people. So this is the concept of urban regeneration, slum upgradation. So definitely we are trying to attract investors to work on such model. So there are 9 prioritized social economic zones, and we try to conduct one research, that is Allama Iqbal Industrial City. And we we try to see that how much population the industry, that is, some industries are working and another will be invited there. So how much population they will be attracting and what kind of measures the government has taken, the local government has taken. But we found that there's a big room for investors to come and to provide shelter to those who will be joining these businesses, these industries as workers as well as a skilled labor there. So there is another window of opportunity along these economic zones, special economic zones, there is a need for investment. So another window is the tourism related hotel industry. So in our northern areas, we have serene places, beautiful places. So the foreign investors can invest in hotel industry. So this is another window of investment for them. So one usual and unusual. What is usual business that we see in our countries is happening? So what is that? That is business as usual. And most of our investors are serving the richest class, that is the tip of the pyramid. While there is a lot of people at the bottom of the pyramid, there are poor, there is middle income group. And there is a need for a paradigm shift. And we have to let them know that if they invest there at bottom of the pyramid, they can equally get this profit. Instead of serving just the richest class, they can serve the lower class and they can earn the same profit. So this is a new paradigm that we have to inculcate in our business investment. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab. Much appreciated. Can I now request Dr. Mohammad Fakhruddin Ahmed, Director from Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan, to highlight the potential of pharmaceutical sector of Pakistan. Dr. Saab, thank you.
Thank you very much. This will be a very brief introduction of Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan. In fact, it's a different presentation here, just to have an intro of the DRAP here in Pakistan. First of all, I would like to share some history of the DRAP in Pakistan. As you all know, that before the DRAP in Ministry of Health, it was Drug Control Organization under the Ministry of Health, Government of Pakistan. In 2012, under the Act, Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan was developed. And after that, first of all, it was ordinance, and then the Act came here and it started working. The mandate of authority is to provide effective coordination and enforcement of Drug Act and inter-provincial coordination. And what was the being behind that authority was to provide safe and effective medication to the people of Pakistan with some affordability. And with the construction of this authority, Government of Pakistan has achieved many goals here to safeguard the public health and also to provide safe and effective medication. Well, I think my presentation has been uploaded a bit late. I'll go through quickly as we're already late here. So I directly come to the regulatory products that are being regulated by DRAP in Pakistan. These includes pharmaceutical drugs, biological products, vaccines, medical devices, immunological products, surgical supplies, nutraceuticals, herbal, Ayurvedic, and biochemic Chinese and homeopathic medicines. In this slide, you can see there are multiple windows here which can be explored by the investors, both in Pakistan and abroad. And currently, DRAP has announced an API policy under construction. And secondly, with the help of BOI, multiple regimes have been introduced to facilitate the investors in Pakistan in these sectors, especially the biologicals and vaccines. A vaccine hub is being created with the help of WHO, and this will be the second in the globe after the South Africa. Pakistan will be the second country for hosting that vaccine hub. In that vaccine hub, multiple vaccines will be produced by the local Pakistani pharmaceutical industries with the help of some foreign investments. Secondly, the medical devices sector is new in Pakistan, and Pakistan has been started producing the ventilators and some more sophisticated equipment. So this is another area which can be explored along with the herbal and nutraceuticals sector. As we know that in this sector, Pakistan has a good opportunity to produce some indigenous herbal preparations. And recently, the policy of the hemp policy is also underway. Well, this is the strengthening of drug regulation in Pakistan in the last few years. And you can see there are multiple things, the pricing policy, the HOTC, and the alternative medicines, and then the biospheric rules. Another area in Pakistan where the investors can invest is the clinical studies. Pakistan is providing the options to the investors and the different universities and the groups to create some joint ventures with local pharmaceuticals to have clinical studies locally in Pakistan. As the vaccine, the corona vaccine, the COVID vaccine has already been studied clinically in Pakistan, has been registered here and in China as well. And another sector here which can be benefited by the investors is the educational sector or the technical support along with Pakistani intellectuals and the US ones to work together in the different fields of pharmaceuticals. And what the draft is aiming in the next future is the WHO listed authority, and then the pharmaceutical inspection coordination scheme, PICS, WHO regulation of serial. Serial has already been, serial is the laboratory for the pharmaceuticals and the biologicals, is NCLB in Islamabad. Both have been upgraded, and CDL has been accredited, pre-qualified by WHO, and NCLB will be accredited soon, inshallah. And other thing DRAP has done recently, that it has developed an online system for all its functions, and hopefully shortly, all functions of DRAP will be paperless, inshallah, soon. With this, I finish my presentation. With all the opportunities we have in Pakistan in pharmaceutical sectors, in all the presentations here have been presented. Unfortunately, pharma sector has been neglected, but I think we do have a better opportunity in Pakistan for all the investors in Pakistan and abroad to have opportunities in investment, and also to provide the latest technologies to Pakistanis, and also to provide cheap and effective medicines to Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab. Much appreciated. Can I now request Mr. Imad from National University of Science and Technology for his presentation, please?
Thank you for the opportunity and for the audience for giving us the ears. I think they're just uploading. That's not me. Control room, yes, sir. Sure. So thank you once again. So this is the kind of overview that we will be following. I will try to make it on time, inshallah. So I'll start with a quick overview of NUST University. NUST University is the premium university of Pakistan. It has about 19 different schools and colleges, footprints in all 4 provinces and 7 campuses in 5 cities. Over the years, it has developed into a comprehensive multidisciplinary university covering all different subjects. It is the #1 university in Pakistan, and it has retained that rank for some years now. It has also a respectable international recognition and standing. The ecosystem that NUST hold is divided into 4 verticals: the intellectual academic side, the industrial linkages, technology transfer, the policy advocacy, and the new venture, the vertical, is the Science and Technology Park, which is driving the university into a true entrepreneurial university of the current generation. Overall, it has about 18,000 graduate students with 42,000 graduates, faculty of over 1,000. Most of the faculty, 60% of it is PhDs, graduated from world over. The university also holds #1 position in Pakistan in the UN SDG ranking and is in top 200 globally. The university has about 350 labs and research centers, including the most advanced state-of-the-art supercomputer of Pakistan and AI labs, along with other advanced labs and research centers. The industry linkages part is also a strong wing of the university with over 800 partnerships, which are working on different projects in areas of collaboration. So with that, I'll just quickly go through what science and technology parks are. I'm sure the audience are well aware of them already. So the concept of science and technology park was started in the US in the 1950s and the 1960s by Stanford University. And after that, it spread globally very quickly, as you will see in the later slide. The basic concept of Science and Technology Park is to ensure research, innovation, and development, sharing of knowledge, and development of the economy and the overall community in terms of business. As the chart shows, there are many science and technology parks within each country. Even in our neighborhood, Iran has 43, India has about 14, 15 plus, China has about 400 plus, even though China started very late into the science and technology development park. Unfortunately and fortunately, Pakistan has only 1 at the moment. However, this number is changing quickly as the realization of this and the importance of science and technology park has been realized. More overall, globally, 64% of science and technology parks are hosted by universities, hence, which is bringing us to Science and Technology Park, which is the first science and technology park of Pakistan, developed by NUST University as a pilot project in December 2019. The park itself is designed within 8 different thematic sectors, as flashed on the screen. The sectors are basically supported by the research being done at NUST, hence with the idea that the industry and the academic side can collaborate and partner within these sectors. The current pilot project hosts about 100 firms from 7 multinational companies, 34 high-tech SMEs, and 60 startups. This was also, NCP was also awarded the first high-tech special economic zone in 2020, enabling it to have a lot of benefits and for its resident. The main NSTP project is already in process. It is planned to have 5 to 8 different buildings, double the size of what we have right now, building the innovation center that NUST envisions. The vision of the Science and Technology Park is to promote, to have an international platform which will promote science, development, technology, R&D, and the flow of knowledge and development of business, which will overall help the economy and contribute in positive manner. With that vision, the mission is obviously in the encouragement of innovation, entrepreneurship, startup culture, and having a concept of knowledge sharing. We also act as a pilot for other science and technology parks to be built in Pakistan. So we openly share our learnings and findings. With that, we also host a platform called Innovate Pakistan, which gives a number of different services under its wing, which help businesses and science and technology parks setting up in different stages of their growth. These are some of the services that are offered at the park to its resident, from IP, intellectual property rights, to business consultancy, mentorship, and coaching. We also have a number of different international association and partnerships, which not only help us in our learning and growth, it also helps our resident achieve higher growth in their objectives. So as I mentioned, we have a special economic zone, which has a number of benefits for the resident companies that are based in NSTP. Within the ecosystem that we also have a complete incubation center, starting from the pre-incubation setup of Hatch 8 to acceleration program. The acceleration program has not been launched as yet, as we are under the process of developing our own VC fund, which will obviously help all these different companies in different stages. I'll just highlight some of the achievements. While we were also suffering from pandemic and the economic condition, global economic conditions, we have been able to provide an enabling environment to our residents, which helped them achieve many of the milestones, which will be flashed later. So we were able to create about 1,000 jobs, 300 plus internships, 230 plus products were created, and a lot of our residents were able to gain investments from local and international sources. Similarly, as I mentioned, we are very focused towards the intellectual property rights. We not only educate our resident about the importance of IP, we also go into helping them file their IP. So in the last 1.5 years, actually less than that, we have been able to identify more than 125 IPs, and which are in the different processes of their stages. Similarly, we've been doing a lot of investment has been going into R&D and research projects within the resident of the park. Our park residents have been able to create about 1.7 billion of turnover, and a lot of as we are focused on research, R&D, and innovation, a lot of, as you can see, a lot of the money goes back into the system in development of R&D and human development. We've, in the short period that we have been operating, we have also gained good international recognition. We are currently running an international program for a UAE-based education development organization. We are running a customized pre-incubation program for them. Similarly, one of our online portals called The Bridge, which basically enables collaboration and communication between the academia side and the university side, was shortlisted for shortlisted for top 10 projects by International Association of Science Parks Inspiring Solution Programs. As I mentioned, we have about 100 plus companies, so I'll just quickly run through some of them just to give you an idea of what kind of work is being done at NSTP. So I'll start with Viro. Viro is started off as a small pre-incubation company, which has now grown into a seriously big company with over 60 employees. They were rated, they use AI and machine learning to develop image enhancing apps. They were rated the best Asia Pacific developer by Google, have more than 40 million downloads and 4 million plus active subscribers in a very short period of time. Chatta Biocare is a health tech, agri-tech company, indigenously developing different agriculture and health products, including skin grafts and agriculture enhancement, probiotics for animals, and other such products. Rapidev is another homegrown company which has now become a multinational company working in the defense sector. They have a number of different solutions in terms of cybersecurity, anti-drone solutions, and are operating and actually have current live clients locally and internationally. Expert Flow is another health tech company which has developed an early detection system for sepsis, enabling them to detect the disease 6 to 8 hours before it actually occurs with 97% accuracy. Orbit is an edtech company working in the STEM education using AR to make learning more fun. This again helped within the pandemic situation a lot. Memar finally is a 3D visualization company which uses AR, VR to help conceptualize different construction and design projects. So with that, I'll end my presentation. And these are all the ways that I welcome all of you to connect with us in any capacity that you feel right. And I'll be more than happy to connect and answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Imad Saab. Can I now request Mr. Farhan Khalid to present his excellent Ravi Urban Development Authority project. Sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Good day to everyone, and thank you very much for your patience for listening to us. I'll try to make this concise, and I hope this is an interactive session to invite questions from our attendees. Thank you very much to the BOI team for setting this up, and I look forward to an interactive session. The Ravi, my name is Farhan Khalid, and I'm the Director for Investor Relations at the Ravi Urban Development Authority, which was a project that is envisioned by our Honorable Prime Minister Imran Khan. The authority was inaugurated in July 2020, and we've had a bit of a bumpy ride, but we're well underway with a 30-year project to develop a planned city adjacent to the Ravi River in Lahore, which will be home to 8 million people upon completion and create 2 million jobs for our population. Upon completion, this will also be the largest riverfront city in the world, beating Canary Wharf, the Marina Bay in Singapore, and Melbourne Bay. Moving on, there's a short video over here if I'd like to show. So a bit of a stats on the housing and construction industry. So construction contributes 2.5% to our national GDP. Construction growth last year, or rather this year, has been at 8.3%, which is phenomenal post the pandemic. Growth in FDI towards construction has seen a rapid increase of 17.2%. Authorities have been incubated and envisioned by a Prime Minister, the Central Business District in Lahore, the Ravi Urban Development Authority in Lahore, and the NAFDA, which is overseeing construction of homes for the underprivileged sector. We're also looking to create an SEZ at the Ravi City, which is at the industrial zone. I'll show you details of it slightly ahead into the slides. Again, the benefits are the same for the other SEZs in Pakistan: repatriation of profits, ease of doing business, one window operation, and tax breaks. As all of you already know, we are the 9th largest workforce in the world. We are the 5th most populous country with an active workforce of 68.5 million young and skilled workforce, which is with a very low average rate of income at the moment. We're looking to create this city under the Sustainable Development Goals strategy, looking to create an entire ecosystem and a circular economy. It's getting into the statistics, the entire city is going to consist of 102,000 acres. Just to add, 102,000 acres is actually bigger than Islamabad as we speak. Islamabad is about 86,000 acres today. The net sellable area on the project is 43,692 acres. We're currently in phase 1, which is with a net sellable area of 21,502 acres, moving on to phase 2. After a few years, which is 12,628 acres, and phase 3, which is also about 12,500 acres. This is a map. So you'll see at the top. Sorry. So the top right-hand side, you'll see the phase 1, and coming down towards phase 2, and then 2A and 2B, and then phase 3. We've recently auctioned off through a bidding process phase 1 zone 3, which is about 2,000 acres, to the Arif Habib group that has come in with 18 affluent families of Pakistan and won successful rights to develop the zone. The reason why we're developing this city is because water is actually a scarcity and a huge issue in Lahore. In fact, the situation is so alarming that within the next 6 to 7 years, we might run out of water, causing grave problems, and probably a situation like Karachi. Lahore is overpopulated, being the economic capital, and having a better infrastructure in comparison to the other parts of Punjab. Generally, we've seen a rapid increase in migration from the smaller cities and rural areas of Lahore, of Punjab, into Lahore, which is overburdening our infrastructure such as civil defense, medical services. It's causing traffic congestion, heavy pollution. As we all know from the recent news, Lahore has unfortunately been ranked as the most polluted city in the world today. The concept of the Ravi city is obviously to create a sustainable development, which is going to alleviate and try to reverse the after effects of climate change. The city is envisioned on thematic sectors like sports city, medical city, knowledge city. You'd see industrial city. You'll see science and tech parks. So the tech city, which we call innovation city. You'll see a commercial city. We're also planning a governmental city to have all the government institutions of Punjab within one particular geographical area. We're looking for partners for wastewater treatment plants. We don't have any wastewater treatment plants as we speak. Currently, all the waste, human waste, unfortunately, goes into the Ravi River. There are 13 sewages that are connected to the Ravi River. So whenever there's a little bit of water in the Ravi River, that goes into our cultivable land and into our food chain. We're looking to create modern water management systems, eco-friendly zones. We're also looking for partners who can help us in waste to energy. We're actually running a project as we speak with a Dutch and a British company that are actually in Pakistan as we speak, to work with us on the first waste to energy project of Pakistan that might create, in the first phase, would create about 50 megawatts of energy through waste. We're also looking to create 7 barrages, canals and dikes, and water reservoirs to preserve, revitalize, rejuvenate the Ravi River. As mentioned before, Sapphire Bay was a success with Arif Habib winning the rights. With 18 affluent families of Pakistan, the project of 2,000 acres is expected to generate 150 billion rupees worth of economic activity for the country. Emerald Bay is right opposite Sapphire Bay. This is another project that we're looking to launch within the first quarter of 2022, which is another 2,000 acres. So we're actually looking for master developers who can come in, design, build, operate, and transfer and sell the project. Topaz is another project of 9,000 acres. It's actually a collection of 3 zones. We've received an unsolicited bid already. However, we'll still go through a public bidding process to see if we can have a better bidder. Industrial zone, we're launching an industrial zone of 7,300 acres within the first quarter of 2022 as well. As you might have seen the recent news yesterday, one of our Saudi investors who we had met with the Prime Minister's delegation in October is actually in Pakistan and pumping money into the industrial zone. In fact, this might actually be renamed as the King Salman Industrial Zone. Might I add that this is also an investor who has taken up a significant chunk of the rights to develop the Sapphire Bay as well, which is our first zone. The beauty of our industrial zone or our industrial area is that it's connected to all the important arteries of the country, and better strategically located versus the other industrial zones in the vicinity, like Sundar Industrial Estate and the Qaid-e-Azam Industrial Estate. So the industrial zone, our industrial zone, is about 17 kilometers from Tokar Niaz Beg. It's about 12 kilometers from the railway station, about 13 kilometers away from the dry port, and 16 kilometers away from the airport, which makes it the closest and better suited for supply distribution. A bifurcation of our industrial zones. So phase 1, 2,500. Phase 2A about 926, and then 714. So we're actually collectively auctioning this off with a successful bidder already in place. So again, like I mentioned before, we're looking to create an ecosystem, a circular economy for people who can live, work, and have entertainment activities within the same locality that they live. We've signed MOUs during our export trip with an entertainment park that is looking to pump in $600 million along with a hotel and a theme park, a sustainable city model replicating the Dubai Sustainable City for about $500 million, a MasterCard to digitize our payment structure. We're looking for investment partners who can help us with renewable energy, who can help us with water treatment plants. We're looking for master developers who can take additional zones. We're also looking for private equity and development funds or impact investments that can assume the risks of the frontier and emerging markets. This is the current state of the Ravi River. So as I had mentioned earlier, 13 sewerages that are actually pumping in waste into the Ravi River. The same waste goes into our cultivable land and our food chain, creating waterborne diseases. So we're looking to treat, revitalize, and rejuvenate the Ravi River, which is practically dead as we speak. We're looking for partners under the public-private partnership model. However, if there is foreign direct investment, it helps us circumventing a slow process, because it is foreign direct investment. Again, waste to energy. We're looking to create waste to energy plants. Lahore unfortunately produces a lot of waste, which is generally burnt, creating adverse effects to our climate. So upon creation of a waste to energy plant, we would be able to convert all that waste into energy. We already have a partner on board, as I had mentioned before, to generate 50 megawatts of energy. With this, I'd like to conclude the presentation and move on to a question we've received.
Thank you very much, sir. Few more presentations, and then we'll come back to questions. Now, can I request Mr. Asim from Engineering Development Board to deliver his presentation, please?
Thank you, sir. So I'm Asim, General Manager of Engineering Development Board, Ministry of Industries and Production. The topic which was given to me, all three are long topics. I'll just throw some light on those three topics, and then I'll be available for questions maybe now and later on, because all of us understand that each subject is vast enough. We have now formulated auto industry development and export policy, and it has been approved by the ECC today, Economic Coordination Committee of the Cabinet. It has some salient features and certain investment opportunities, but in the smaller car side. We'll also be requiring some of the labs for checking the quality standards, etc. If anybody is interested over there. On the US side, we can have the opportunity. But the salient features of this policy are that we will be incentivizing the EVs, electric vehicles, as well as the hybrids. It's the part of this major policy, and the other interventions are related to the tariff regime and the localization of parts and components. So here are the features of AIDEP. Once announced, we'll be sharing the document. It will also be placed on our website also, and we'll be open for any kind of discussion regarding investment on that policy. So coming to the electric vehicles manufacturing, the policy encompasses almost all type of vehicles, that is motorcycles or 2-3 wheelers, cars and SUVs, LCVs, as well as the HCVs. There are certain benefits. It's a bit technical presentation, and we have certain tariff structures given for the parts which have been localized, which have not been localized, but to the electric vehicle specific parts, the parts which are specific to the electric vehicles, the custom duty has been reduced to 1%, which is fairly a large type of an incentive for the investors. And we have already received response, and we have issued 4 manufacturing licenses to the two-wheelers and 1 to the 3-wheeler industry. It's a recent policy, and we are looking forward for any investment from the US side. We have details on our website also. And for the cars also, there is a certain tariff, but here the incentive is also provided for the electric specific parts. This whole policy, how to apply under the SRO we have, the rules of the government, it needs a bit longer explanation. I'll not be touching upon that, but I'll be available for the specific answers probably through the email. So there are incentives for import of some of the completely built units at the concessionary rate, and there are the additional tariffs, etc., are not applicable on these. So electric vans or SUVs, as I've mentioned, they are also allowed. And there is a certain size, or to the smaller SUVs or to the smaller cars, the incentive is more, and it's mainly related to sale tax, which is 1% against the 17%. So in general, we are promoting the smaller type of electric vehicles. The incentive is also available in the heavy commercial vehicle segment, and the fleets of buses can be transformed to electric vehicles. There are certain incentives which we have given for the charging stations. The charges are at 0% rate of duty, but for the charger which comes with the vehicle, it's at 1%. There are certain additional duties and taxes which are exempted in case of electric vehicles. But for the detailed discussion, we are available. It needs a bit an hour or so, and we will be ready for the personal dialogue or a Zoom meeting with with any of the potential investor. But we in Pakistan are having a very good response of this electric vehicle policy as of now. So there are other departments which are also working on the incentivized power tariff, which is required for the charging stations. Some financing facilities are also available with State Bank. We are trying to lower the registration costs, the annual renewal fee. The relevant departments are already working on it. Since it's a new policy, many subjects are related to the different industry. So these are some of the initiatives which have been taken in this. So let's come to the mobile manufacturing policy. This is the third part of my presentation. Pakistan is a big market of the mobile phone users. We announced the policy in 2020, and after 1 year, now we have 26 companies which have invested in Pakistan, and almost all the brands, including Samsung, Nokia, Oppo, Itel, Vivo, Infinix, Tecno, etc., they have started their production. We are looking forward. Apple is the only company which has not entered the market. But let me apprise you that there is 20%, or rather more than 20% advantage for local assembly as compared to the CPU import. We can only say that this 26 companies coming and investing in a country in a year, it's a big achievement, and incentives are there, and government is ready to provide the continuous support in development of this ecosystem, where we'll be going to the tablet manufacturing, we'll be going to the allied equipment and accessories also, and our department is already working on those policies in the light of this mobile policy, which we have already announced. So this is anything you want to know, you can send an email to our CEO's address. We have the website. We can be approached. I have already given my email address, I think, and if you can send it at the CEO's address also, it will definitely reach the concerned quarter. And we normally do not take more than 1 month in complete execution of the request which is submitted to us. With this, I thank you all. Due to shortage of time, I've had to cut it short. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Asim sir. Much appreciated. Again, the presentation is available on the chat box. You can download it, and I ask Asim sir is available for any questions. Can I now request Mr. Waqar Ali Shah from Central Business District Development Authority for his presentation, please.
Thank you, sir. Assalamu alaikum ji. To start with, I'd like to thank the Board of Investment for this opportunity and our participants for their patience and time. My name is Ali Waqar Shah. I'm a Director for Commercial Business Development and Investor Relations for Lahore Central Business District Authority. In short, we call ourselves CBD Punjab. Thank you. As the name implies, CBD Punjab has been established as an authority in the year 2021, February, by the Prime Minister of Pakistan to establish Pakistan's first and the world's youngest central business district. Central business districts across the world serve as a centralization of businesses in most of the metropolis cities and in centralizing the available talent pool. Now, that is something that I want you guys to remember. We'll get back to that in a bit. The future is now, the future is vertical. The whole theme of Pakistan's first central business district is to have modern urban business space available in the center of arguably the largest or the second largest city in Pakistan, that is Lahore. My presentation contains some general outlook about Pakistan, but most of these figures we've already gone through numerous times during the last 2 hours or so. But what I want you to keep focus is the total population of Pakistan, the average age, and the workforce figures that we have right here. I'm just skipping through these because we've been through this. Available opportunities. CBD Punjab currently spans across 500 acres of prime urban land located in the center of Lahore. If any of the participants or my fellow colleagues are aware of Lahore, this land is basically what used to be the old Walton Airport. The airport, due to population increase and expansion of the city, is now in the middle of the city and has been decommissioned. And that land is available for CBD to construct high-rise development. The available opportunities that we have in this are mixed and residential commercial high-rises, of course, industrial, entertainment, hospitality, healthcare, hospitals, anything can come there. Now, the interesting part about CBD is that CBD has a blanket approval of 500 feet of height, and our FARs are one of the highest in the industry right now. We are the largest FAR that we sold our plot on was 1/24. The small video, I'd like your attention for this. It's just 2 minutes. Please look at this. Thank you. This is the current location of the Central Business District. The areas that you see in white are where we envision the CBD to come up. How do I define this? To explain this to you, if you guys know Lahore, this is the main boulevard. So our CBD starts from the main boulevard. On one side, we have the Firozpur Road. We have the Alizab Road going towards Defense and Kent, and we have Defense here in the background. So CBD Lahore is very centrally located. It grabs the constellation. It's 5 minutes away from all the prime residential areas of the city and less than 15 or 20 minutes away from all the current business areas of the city. What we have done so far, CBD had its first auction in September of this year, and we sold off 5 plots out of our first phase. The point to note here is that the base price of these plots was ₹160 million per canal, and our highest plot, largest plot got sold off for 44 crore rupees or 440 million rupees a canal. So the incremental increase, about 3 times the base value that we had set, shows the confidence that the investors had in this project, in this vision, in this dream. Like I've explained before, we have a height clearance of 500 feet, which can be further extended if the developer wishes. We are hoping to make CBD Lahore as the largest and the tallest advanced urban clusters in the country. This is not only an urban development, it is also an ecological development. We plan to make this a green city. We plan to make this a green area. There are a lot of ecologically advanced steps that we're looking at. We are thinking of making our own water filtration or water purification plant, sewage treatment plant. We're going to have our own green energy systems, energizing the whole district. The whole project is investment ready. Being an authority, we are independent. We're an independent body. We have our own bylaws. We have our own approval processes. General processing is quick and fast. We have our design approvals done to our investors in 30 days. If there's anything, any specific requirement that any entity has with CBD Punjab, that can be dealt with fairly quickly as opposed to other entities around. We are open for foreign investment. We have the option of direct foreign investment, where you can purchase a piece of land and build your own. We can go into a JV with a foreign investor, and we can go into a PPP. That's a public and private partnership. So all these models are available for any investors who wishes to invest in the real estate sector, especially in the CBD in Punjab here. Certain the characteristics of the CBD. Please also note this is also the first LEED certified mega project. Design of the city, district. Please note that the high rises are at the far end of the district. So we start here from the main boulevard, and that's the Walton Road. So you have high rises on these. These are the business clusters. In the central, we have mixed use mid rises, and then we have a low rise residential complex as well. The total area of this, the slide that you see, is about 500 acres. Again, some building height dynamics, and that's about it. My details are available for the Board of Investment, and they'll post it on the whole channel. If there's anything you require further, you can please feel free to drop me an email or call. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shasa. Much appreciated. So our last presentation today will be by Mr. Sajjad Ali Shah from National Highway Authority.
I would like to thank you to the BOI for arranging such a tremendous event. So the topic is around investment opportunities in road infrastructure of Pakistan. The economic numbers have already been explained in the early presentation. So let's move on the next slide. Our core identity and the reason for existence is our mission statement that NHA, National Highway Authority, promote national integration through an efficient, reliable, safe, and environment-friendly road network for sustainable economic growth and improved life standard. So NHA established in 1991, and NHA has a custodian of 49 national highways and motorways, and that said network has been spread over 13,500 kilometers. National highways and motorways weighs the 5% of the total Pakistan road network, but it caters 80% of the commercial traffic. So the road density comparison worldwide, the Pakistan stands at the 0.32. It's more than the Indonesian network. When you see the intermodal split, it tells preference of the freight traffic and passenger traffic that opt for traveling. If you see this air, it's 2% passenger traffic, and it's very negligible with freight traffic. However, the rail is carrying 8% of passenger traffic, but 5%. However, the road has significant lead while comparing with the rail and air. That is 95% freight traffic and 90% passenger traffic. So these are the development partners, international financial institutions that interest NHA, that is World Bank, Asian Development Bank, China Exim Bank, Islamic Development Bank, JICA, and Korea Exim Bank. So this is the National Highway Network. And this currently the motorway expressway length is over the 2,000 and highways is 11,500, while the whole becomes 13,500. So geostrategic importance already been discussed earlier, but by virtue of its geographical location, Pakistan's geography has been its greatest benefit. Pakistan is a junction of South Asia, West Asia, and Central Asia, away from resource-efficient countries to the resource-efficient countries. In fact, Pakistan plays the bridge role between the South Asia and Southwest Asia. The current portfolio, in the last 4 years, Pakistan has initiated an ambitious program of US $13.63 billion. We have almost completed the north-south motorway link. We have strengthened east-west connectivity, that's Balochistan. We have made some efforts for reviving the Sikh mega projects. Also, the NHA has the largest BOT regime under PPP mode, that is $3.4 billion US. Of budgeting financing cost savings of US $4.43 billion. NHA also contribute to GDP growth, that is 1 to 1.5%. NHA, the GOP vision is to substantially increase the road density from 32.32 to 0.64 till 2025. So for achieving this mammoth target, we definitely require some supplement private sector financing. So this insufficient financing allocation, a PSDP allocation, definitely need to be supplemented by off-budget financing. For the purpose, NHA has planned to undertake a major portion of its highway development projects by financing through PPP. So NHA is promoting private PPP in order to bring skills efficiency and to augment limited resources. So our conduct towards the PPP arrangement, we have PPP legal framework. Project NHA Act 1991 empowers NHA to undertake the projects through PPP. Project on PPP modality are further strengthened by the PPP Act 2017. So we have a system in place to procure the PPP projects. Typically, it's a PPP cycle that after having the expression of interest, we issue the RFP, and for the bid provision, we give the 60 days, and then we do the opening evaluation of the bid, then issue a letter of intent, and after that, letter of support. Then for discussion and legalities on concession agreement, we do the negotiations and award. And finally, after award, we give the proof for the proof of fund. We give a 6 months for the financial close, and then contractor mobilized. It's the cycle takes are a 12-month process to procure a concession. So NHA has already conducted 5 projects: Lahore Islamabad motorway, Sambrial Kharia, Lahore Sialkot, Habibabad flyover bridge, Karachi Hyderabad M9 motorway. The details will come after this one. So we already under procurement of the mega projects Hyderabad Sakhar M6, which is 306 kilometers. And we have 3 projects in pipeline for potential investment. That's the Kharia Rawalpindi motorway. That is the last leg of the Lahore Sialkot, then Sialkot to Kharia, and then Kharia to Rawalpindi is the last leg. And then Shadra flyover bridge, which has a great number of traffic numbers. It's very good potential for the investment. And then Liari elevated freight corridor in Karachi. So if you see the success story of the NHA, so Lahore Islamabad motorway is 357 kilometer, and it's cost in US dollars 264, and the financial rate of return on the investment, it was 20.64. While in Hyderabad Karachi M9, it's a 136 kilometer, and cost is 254 US millions dollars, and the concession is getting 17.82% return. Then Lahore Sialkot is 89 kilometers. Project cost is 252. It's a greenfield project, and it's already completed since August 2020, and ROR is 15%. While we just finished up the Sialkot Kharian procurement, it's a 69 kilometer greenfield project, and $157 US, and return is 15.7%. Following projects are available on PPP that NHA offers on private sector financing. The Kharian Rawalpindi, it's 115 kilometers, and it's in US is $460 US. It's a greenfield project, whereas the Liadi elevated freight corridor, it's a brownfield project. It has established traffic, and the project cost is $230 US. Where the Shadra flyover bridge is in Lahore, and it's again established traffic on it, and it's a $52 million project cost. So these are some salient features of the project. That's NHA will provide the land, and it's available for the estimated cost of $460 million. The estimated cost for the Liadi elevated freight corridor in Karachi, it's a 40 million. It's a 22 kilometer land project land, and feasibility is still in the process. Whereas this Shadra Chowk flyover bridge in Lahore, it's a hardly a 4-lane flyover, and it's a 4.2 kilometers, and it's available for the investment project. So I will keep my, it's all about this. Thank you for having me on this side.
Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. So we will now come to the questions we have received on the chat box. So starting with one which was posed to Mr. Hamid Ali Shah Sahab. But before I start with Hamid Sahab, for all participants, presenters here, please repeat the questions before you start with the answers. Hamid Sahab, over to you.
Thank you. The question was from Mr. Shan Siddiqui. And Mr. Shan, you wanted to know, the question was, is there a liaison office or facilitation office available in US for US business community? Yes, we do have offices in US where we have trade and investment officers. One is in Washington, the other is in New York, and the third one is in Houston. We had another one in Los Angeles, but right now we do not have the person there. We are in the process of recruiting a suitable officer to be posted there. So hopefully in the next couple of months, we will have somebody there also. So the trade minister is in Washington in the embassy, and the other two in New York and Houston are in the consulates. So if you know the address there, and I think the embassy website do have the contact numbers of the officers, and the embassy can guide you if you have any queries regarding the jurisdiction where they are located, so that they can address your queries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I'll now request Mr. Shah Jahan Mirza to answer a few questions he had.
Thank you very much. First question is from Mr. Asmat Mahmood, and he has asked that could you please indicate list of renewable energy projects and transmission line projects that could be showcased for investment by private sector. As I said in my presentation, the focus of the current policy is on the competitive bidding process. So we will be inviting the bids for the competitive process in the first half of the next year. So at that time, we'll provide the list of the projects, and we are in the process of actually arranging the land and identifying the sites where interconnection is available and grid is available. So once this process is done, we'll be doing the competitive bidding, and at that time, the list of the projects and other parameters will be available. Regarding the transmission line projects, after the completion of the generation expansion plan, currently we are working on the transmission system expansion plan, which is going to be ready in the first quarter of 2022. And as this transmission expansion plan is completed, then we'll decide that which project is to be done by our government company, which is the National Transmission Dispatch Company, and which projects will be offered to the private sector. So it will also take some time actually to bring the transmission line project for investment by the private sector. Thank you. The second question, which is again, this is a question from Mr. Azmat Mahmood, and he has asked that any special incentives are available for investment in manufacturing of RE equipment in Pakistan, how competitive those incentives are as compared to other regional players. In this regard, there are no special incentives so far for manufacturing of RE equipment in Pakistan. But as we have heard, there are many incentives, tax breaks, and concessions in the special economic zones and in the under industrial hubs. So all those concessions are available. And we can certainly look at further concessions and further incentive which could be provided once we receive some proposal for manufacturing of this RE technology. So if you have some concept paper or some idea, please send it to Alternate Energy Development Board, and we'll work with you to actually crystallize that proposal to maturity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. Can I now request Mr. Fardhan Khalid to answer his questions?
Thank you very much. Clearly looks like Mr. Azmat Mahmood was by far the most active participant amongst all our attendees, with all due respect to everyone though. His first question is, any public advertisements in the papers for public bidding for development of our zones? Well, being a private public authority, we have to, by law, advertise all our projects, which may be a choice to go through only local or international as well, or a mix and match process. But we generally inculcate a process of going to both local and international newspapers. Our preferences may vary because we obviously try to gauge interest. Especially the Middle East, there's been a lot of interest, so we generally prefer to go to Middle Eastern newspapers, a couple of North American newspapers as well, but we're actually looking to sort of diversify our array of advertisements across the globe. The second question Mr. Mahmood has asked is, what are the policies for land allocation? Any special incentives? Well, we're actually not selling the land of the Ravi city. This is on a lease hold model. It's a lease of 99 years. So master developers that are coming in, again, would also be developing the zones and selling. Well, they won't be selling the land, well, technically selling the land, but that is also on a lease. This is the same way DHA does it in Pakistan, or Barrier does it. I mean, it's practically an NOC that you have while you pay the full price for the property, but it is a 99-year lease. So it's a similar model. And that is the same for master developers as well. Special incentives, so I'm a little confused as to what that means pertaining to this question, but I'm assuming if there are special incentives you're referring to for master developers, that can be looked at. We're looking at very favorable terms. We've created very favorable terms for all our partners that are coming on board, either on a JV model or through the bidding process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Can I now request Mr. Zufran Qasim to answer his question, please?
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I am Zufran Qasim, Director at Board of Investment, Islamabad. The question from Mr. Saleh was, what arrangements regarding effective and quick dispute resolution mechanisms are being made in Pakistan? So here I would like to just share with you that the current government is focusing on improvement in contract enforcement mechanism in Pakistan. So if you see some of the few focused areas, so contract enforcement is one of them. Currently, we have dedicated commercial courts in the provinces of Punjab, Sindh, Balochistan, and the government of KP, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, is also working to upgrade their consumer courts into full-fledged commercial courts. Besides this, the government of Punjab has also introduced a new law, which is called Commercial Courts Law in September 2020. And this law is basically focusing on decision in 180 days, not more than 2 adjournments, and then e-filing, e-notices, and more focus on training of commercial judges. And this law is also being replicated in the provinces, in other provinces as well. And I will also like to share with you that only in the city of Lahore, since September 2020, this commercial court was able to dispose of more than 500 cases within the period of less than 180 days. Secondly, we are also working on out-of-the-court mechanisms like alternate dispute resolutions. Both centers are available in the provinces, in the big provinces of Punjab and Sindh. And besides this, we are also planning to have a business or investment ombudsman's mechanism in the country, which is in the initial planning phase. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zufran Saab. Much appreciated. Can I now request Mr. Imad to answer his query, please?
Thank you, Ji. The question was by Moin Yaqub Saab. He's inquiring about the incentive for NSTP versus STZA. So I assume this is SCZ versus STZA that you're requesting for. So the current laws, obviously STZA being the newer law, has certain advantages in terms of import duties and some taxation laws. However, since the law has been passed by the cabinet, it will automatically be or very easily be replicated for SCZ. So the advantages or the incentives being offered as an economic zone will be replicated for both authorities. And NSTP being part of an organization obviously has an ecosystem that is suitable for companies and all sizes of companies. That is how I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Just to add, basically the sort of incentives are similar, more or less, to be fair. Now I'll request our Sayyid Hamid from Ministry of Commerce to answer a question, please.
Thank you, Mr. Jamil Qureshi. There is a query from Mr. Shaknana, if I'm right. And the query is, what is the plan to prepare for, Ms. Shaknana, sorry. What is the plan to prepare for GSP reinstatement in the US? Let me clarify that the GSP is not a country-specific, concession. It is for almost 120 countries of the world, and Pakistan was one of the beneficiary of the former GSP that was in place. As you are aware, there is a new legislation tabled in the US Congress, and we hope that it will be finalized very soon. Again, this legislation will be available to every eligible country that conforms to the requirements of the GSP. So it's not going to be country specific again. It is going to be, requirement-based application, which has to be satisfied by eligible countries. So we hope that we are in touch with our embassy, and they are informing us of developments as they happen. So once we have the legislated law in place, then we can see how we can position for our concession, as they are offered by the US legislature. The second question.
To clarify.
The second question was regarding, if I'm correct, tariff engineering, that is the redesign of products based on HS classification for lower duty possibilities. Let me clarify. The customs tariff is a graduated tariff starting from basic raw materials and graduating upwards to refined products. So the tariff works according to that structure. So starting from there, almost 99 chapters, and there are some further, there is a last chapter which is regarding various things that are probably not classified elsewhere in the tariff. So the tariff structure basically starts from basic raw material, which attracts a lower duty, starting and going forward to intermediate products, which has intermediate duty, and the higher slab is for the refined products. So presently we have like 0% and 3% for basic raw materials. Then we move onwards to 11% and 16% for intermediate products, with an intermediate slab again of 5% for special manufacturing projects, and then 20% for the finished products. So that is how the structure, the tariff is classified. If you have any further query, I'm available. I can answer that also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I don't think we have any more questions. So we are leaving our contact details of the director for US and Europe, Mr. Bilal Khokar. If you have got any questions you couldn't ask or you want to ask, you can send an email to Bilal sir, and he will respond to your email promptly. And rest of the presentations have been shared with you already on the chat box. If you need any other information from our presenters today, you have their contact numbers also, but we can get in touch with them to get information for you guys. And our embassy officers are also available. As Mr. Hamid mentioned earlier, Mr. Azman Mahmood and others are available. They will also be able to help you with all your queries. And lastly, I would like to thank all of you for sparing your time and listening to our presentations. I would like to thank all my colleagues here for taking time out to come to Board of Investment to present. Once again, thank you very much, and hope that we will do this soon again in a few months' time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
ये खत्म हो गया सारा कुछ मीटिंग में।